Haidong! In this video, we're going to talk about breathing part 2. So last time, we talked about a more complicated thing for you to do during these 3 seconds. However, what I would like to introduce now is types of breathing, and that'll make more sense soon, and this should be kind of very obvious now. So what I'd encourage you to do is there's 2 types of breathing. Obviously, most people do one or a combination of the 2 when they naturally breathe. But what I would like to just visually kind of show you breathing-wise, right? So just, you don't even need a sword for now. If you want to be here, if you want to be here. The first one is kind of raising your body with the breath. So breathe in and breathe out. In through the nose, out through the mouth. I'm going to immediately, because I can already see some of you cringing, this is not going to be the way I encourage. This is kind of how a lot of people, when they think about how breathing should look, especially if you look at like animation, for example, people usually think of, right, which is not going to be helpful. So for one reason, it's going to generally contract the chest a little bit more, which you don't want to do, especially when you're doing martial art and when you're doing a sword martial art in particular, because you actually want the muscles to be pretty relaxed, right? Pretty relaxed and then squeeze on impact as opposed to constantly being tight. So that one type of breathing is going to be kind of not great for that. I believe, I could be flat out lying, so who knows. I believe that type of breathing is actually pretty good for energizing, right? So like when you're trying to wake up and trying to get a little bit more, pumped up, like doing that might kind of like speed up the awakening process and get a little bit of the blood pumping. The other version that I would like to kind of show you, this is also very common in Japanese swordsmanship. So I learned this in Iaido specifically, just so you have that transparency. So instead of vertical breathing, right, like actually think horizontal. So from here, think about where your diaphragm is, right, and have that way. So I am not a doctor, so don't quote me on this. However, I have heard that this type of breathing is better for soothing and relaxing and stuff like that, right? So think about that, right? So as you go through a form, I would encourage you to actually think more about this horizontal breathing as opposed to the vertical breathing. The astute viewer would be like, this is a video about those 3 seconds. You just did a thing about breathing. We're going to breathe during these 3 seconds, and you're correct, right? So the major idea that I would like to introduce here is the kind of dichotomy between the action of the cuts and the forms and stuff like that, and the slowness of the defenses. So in real combat, it wouldn't be necessarily that much of a stark difference, but something I would like for you to encourage, right, is, so imagine we just started that nice, powerful introduction of that form that if I already have it, I'm going to be in trouble anyway. Here, we just had that burst of energy, so that was the really fast thing. So this is the part where we slow down, and again, that horizontal breathing, right? So, and notice, just for fun, as you're exhaling, you're not kind of just like, right? You're using that diaphragm to like pulling it open this way to let in the air, and you're going to also slowly relax the diaphragm. So slowly relax, right? So from here, and then slowly, right? There's going to be a bunch of different ways to breathe, but for now, that's what we have, right? So you can either do 3 breaths, or you can do just 3 seconds of breathing, however you want to do it for now, depending on if you're doing it for your own, right? If you're doing it for your own calmness, 3 breaths, that's fine. But if you're doing it like in front of, a chief master, right? You might just be like, all right, that was about 3 seconds, and then you can move on with the rest of the form. So playing with an idea that I know I've introduced time and time again. Again, this is something taken from Yaido, so this is from my Japanese background. But another use of that, so another reason why to have these breathing sessions, right, is because allegedly when you're not in a guard, you are only exhaling, right? So the purpose of that is just because it's easier to synchronize your body with each of these movements if you're constantly just only exhaling, because the whole body is contracting as opposed to breathing in, which is relaxing something, breathing and you're cutting, which is going to be contracting something. There's a lot of mixing and matching, as opposed to only right. Only exhaling is going to have you be a little bit faster, a little bit more synchronized with your body, and you're less likely to accidentally damage yourself. However, right, that does deplete your oxygen tank very, very quickly. So having these little respite times, right, so the moment you have a defense, you're almost looking forward to it, kind of like, service centers as you're kind of driving across the country. You kind of see that blue sign, you're like, yes. We can finally just sit down. So you're going, and then when you finally meet this point, you're like, and this does bring us back to one reason why many people do martial arts, and that is just the control of the body, right? Again, most of us are not going to be in lethal, either open hand or sworded encounters. Most of us just want that kind of just control over the body, right? So if you're stressed out by a certain situation, being able to acknowledge that situation but still have that level of calm is a very good thing to get from martial arts and forms, right? So this is also a good time to do that, right? So yes, breathing is important, but really how you're breathing and how you're letting yourself kind of let go in that time is kind of crucial. So what I would invite for you to do, right, so whenever you're in those guards, right, so imagine again we just bang, 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 and you're here and you're getting ready to fight someone again. So breathe in, and as you're exhaling, think about, this is going to sound a little woo-woo, but think about the things that are not serving, right? So your fears and your anxieties, have that as you exhale, go into the earth, right? So as you're here, just bang, bang, kind of excited, and kind of use that diaphragm to really push out the air and kind of force yourself to be grounded once more. But that gets a little bit kind of like into the energy use of a form, which I know is not a lot of people's cup of tea. I made that sentence, but hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, that is the first major use of these 3 seconds I would like for you to use during your forms, right? So ways you can practice this. One of them is obvious. You can just breathe when you do a form. Another way you can do this is whenever you do meditation, especially if you want to do our 3 cycles of breathing kind of thing here, is think about that same type of breathing, right? So as just kind of, because I mentioned it, so as you're breathing in with this whole aspect, right? So breathe in this way. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. Hold here. And as you push out, it's not a kind of like relaxing of the diaphragm to kind of force the air out. You're slowly letting it kind of come out. So it's right. And the same thing, you can do that with this kind of thing. You can just hold in mokso, right? So like your meditation position, you can just like so. Now I know I have a microphone now, so you can actually just hear my breathing. So I'm trying not to do too much of that. However, really think about the way you breathe as you go through forms, as you go through life, because martial arts is supposed to impact the way you live as well. But also whenever you do any sorts of meditation or just being mindful, I would highly encourage you to think about this type of breathing. But with that, make sure you stay safe, stay humble, and keep training. Whoop, here we are. Haidong.